Okay, welcome to lesson 3 on schedule. So this is the third asset of the 4 critical assets in your campaign to think about. And really not a whole lot to cover here. This is going to be a quick lesson. Basically, the idea here, big idea is this is an exercise in prioritization. And this is something that you're going to need to be very buttoned up around. So like technology and processes, you need to be very buttoned up. So let's take a look at what we have here for you. So just a handful of tips. So as I said, this is an exercise in prioritization. I was at an event where the campaign manager for Mitt Romney was speaking, and he said that when he was the campaign manager, most of his time was spent prioritizing the candidate's time, was running Mitt Romney's calendar. So that shows how important scheduling prioritization really can be. The other piece, he said that he spent all of his time on was budget. So scheduling and budget was his life on the Mitt Romney campaign. And that makes sense. Excuse me. So yeah, prioritization. You should go and schedule your time where you are needed. So if you have all of these different chunks of the campaign, like fundraising, voter contact, media, like all these different chunks, the idea is that your campaign manager or you has a view on all of these different pieces, and whatever one needs the most work, requires the most attention, that's where your attention should go. So that's why scheduling is an exercise in prioritization. So next point here is the stuff that we talked about in lesson 1, like exercising, feeding your soul, spending time with your family, and making sure that you're working on yourself, self-improvement. All of this stuff, you must schedule it. It will simply fall to the side and not get done if you don't put it on your schedule. So I know we mentioned that previously. Just want to drive it home here again. Excuse me. So yeah, if basically when your campaign is going full speed ahead, you are going to have every hour of your life scheduled out. And that doesn't mean that you have to be doing something necessarily every single hour of your life. But if you know that you need 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday to just do nothing, and that's how you're going to recharge your batteries, is to just do nothing. Not talk to anybody, spend some time alone, just do your thing. That's how I am sometimes. I really need a chunk of time where I have nothing to do and I'm not around anybody and just total alone zone out time. And that's really how I recharge myself a lot. So if you know you need those chunks, then put it on your schedule. Just because it's on your schedule doesn't mean that it has to be this like structured thing. It just means that you have that time set aside for that activity, whatever that activity is. So third point here, buttoned up technology. Essentially, there are lots of tools out there to be able to effectively manage your calendar. Don't settle for something that isn't working for you. I know a lot of people will either use Microsoft Outlook or the calendar that's built into their iPhone or other smartphone. If it's not working for you, then figure out a different situation or figure out a different setup. There's a million different setups out there that you can use. The Google suite of tools are very useful. I like them a lot. They can be a little bit challenging to integrate with the iPhone. That's the only call out. But find something that works best for you. And when you do have that set up, make sure that your calendar is shareable to other people. So if you do hire a scheduler, obviously make sure that they know how to use it very well. But then also like your campaign manager, your spouse, other folks on the leads on the campaign. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Make sure that they're able to see everything. See everything on your calendar. Okay, the fourth point here is to utilize surrogates. So if you've been invited to an event and you can't make it, but you know it's important, send a surrogate. This isn't something that people typically think about at the local level, but it really makes a good impression. If a small organization invites you to be there to speak or whatever, and they're excited about having you there, they're going to be bummed if you can't make it. So if you can send somebody in your place, obviously it's not as good as showing up there, but it really sends the right message, because that's typically something only like congressmen or folks higher up the chain think to do. So it'll look good if you think to do that. The fifth point here is hire a scheduler. So if maintaining your own calendar is getting overwhelming, even for a smaller campaign, then just go ahead and hire that scheduler. We'll talk a lot more about fundraising and bringing people on, but for you could hire this person on a very part-time basis. So it could just be somebody that is on 10 hours a week. You could probably find someone that has another part-time job, or someone that's like a shared services model where a handful of other professionals that only need a little bit of their services, maybe they pool together and have this one person. You can probably find arrangements like that. I wouldn't recommend your spouse being your scheduler, because there is a role for family in campaigns, and a very critical role, but being like a paid staffer, like a campaign manager or a scheduler, it's not the right fit for them for a number of reasons. And we have a whole chunk of this lesson or of this course where we talk about family and do's and don'ts with family. So we'll cover that in more detail. But if you need to hire a scheduler, we talked about different options for doing it online to outsource it and be able to do it cheaper. So explore all of those options. And at the end of the day, maybe it's somebody that's only a couple of hours a day, so it shouldn't be too expensive. All right, that's what I have for schedule, for time management. You're going to have to pay very, very, very close attention to your schedule and prioritize as needed. All right, thanks guys. See you in the next lesson.